and welcome to DawnNews English. For 20 minutes, I'm Nadia Naqi with you. We have with us today Lieutenant General retired Asad Durrani, and we're going to be basically asking him to analyze the political situation in the country. We saw that the last round, or I don't know, the third round of talks, because yet there has been a bit of confusion between the government and PTI. The government believes that the talks are going to continue. They were quite hopeful. At least that's what we could, gauge off whatever Asad Dar had said last night. However, Shirin Mazari today tweeted that it has been reported wrongly in the media. The talks have failed. PTI has submitted a report in the Supreme Court regarding the talks between them and the government. And this is regarding, of course, the elections in Punjab that the Supreme Court had given a date for 14th of May. Will the elections actually take place on the 14th of May, when the Election Commission of Pakistan has also said that it is impossible to conduct the elections on the 14th? At the same time, the political crisis seems to deepen, and there seems to be no solution out of the talks. Just that everybody had agreed that the general elections should take place, as in the elections should be conducted in one go. Thank you so much for joining us. Asad Durrani sir, we would like to ask you that what I really want to ask is, because you see that the establishment had announced itself to be neutral. And so everyone in Pakistan, at least the political parties, are hopeful, the civil society, the media is hopeful that there won't be any sort of political engineering, there won't be any sort of military interventions. But now, as the political crisis deepens, a few politicians are of the opinion that, a military intervention can be a martial law. I mean, this is how they put it, could be in the offing.
People are entitled to their views. My view is, after last year, actually the army has gone into neutral gear. It was such a big, setback for the military command at that time. During service of the army chief with Bajwa, he was being targeted, and the realization within the establishment, it has always been the consensus that we must not get involved in politics. This is the consensus within the one. That is what people believe, and there is good reason to believe, because every time they have interfered, and there's no exception at all, right from Ayub Khan's time, every time they have interfered, it has backfired. The military rulers end up, if they have taken over or they do political engineering like Bajwa has done, they ultimately find out that the result is actually worse than what they had started with. They come out with their red face, the adversaries, their nemesis, whom they wanted to keep out, they come back with a bang. And there are reasons for that, because that is inbuilt into this whole process. And this time it was, from my point of view, a very good thing to have happened, that it not only backfired, but people within the establishment, people in the ex-servicemen, and people generally at large, they thought that the army intervention was not going to be good, has never been good. Some people had said that before, but some people still, like your question indicates to me, some people still think that it might happen. My view is, no, it will not happen. For the simple reason, because, it's just too fresh. The wounds are very fresh. As far as the establishment is concerned, I wouldn't say they are licking their wounds, but they seem to be in a very bad shape as far as that part is concerned. And because of that, I don't think there will be martial law. I don't think there will be intervention. As far as, behind the scenes, some suggestions are concerned, they can take place. That's the right of every, pillar of power to make a humble suggestion as to what should happen. Nowadays, I have reasons to believe that there are even some outsiders involved, like China, like Saudi Arabia, and so on, asking the present, the squabbling politicians and the institutions to do something about it. So if that be so, I don't think the military intervention would be required. But even if these people would not pay heed to that and they continue with their, the palace games, I don't think the military is involved itself.
Janasa, what would you say that the former Prime Minister Imran Khan still blames the establishment for not only bringing the vote of no confidence, but also says that the current government will continue till the time the establishment supports it?
I never take seriously whenever the politicians talk about anything. Or for that matter, the state makes a statement on international affairs. It's not their business, it's not their habit, it's not their tradition, it does not suit them well to speak the truth. They'll make a political statement, they will make a statement which either helps them, their stance, the country's stance, or they will try and be economic with the truth to the extent possible. So Imran Khan's statement or any other statement is not important for me. I do not know if he has said that. I would not have listened to it. And even if I had, I would not have believed. You're asking me, I have given me my opinion. If Bajwa did anything at the time of the no confidence motion, I might not know, but I could see that he might have done. He might have done something. But it could not have succeeded without these 12, 13 parties, this potpourri of parties, that unless they were also willing to do it. It just so happened that after taking over, this present dispensation has made a hash of things. They have not been able to come to grips with either the political, not give the confidence to the people, not done anything which people might be excited. But that is now, after that regime change, I doubt if there is at any time it has been done by military pulling any strings. As I said, no, it could not have done. It would be the height of stupidity if they were to get involved again, because not only it is in principle not required, or it is, it never works, since it had not worked. The repercussions of last time intervention were bad for the institution, but good from that point of view that people now have a voice, they can talk about it, they can actually criticize very, very mighty, powerful pillars of power. So that's the good thing that has happened. But now the game is squarely with the civilian institution, the parties, the judiciary, and the others.
So, the division, the polarization that exists within the society, within the institutions, there was a lot. We talk about what has happened in the judiciary. It's quite in the open, the kind of division that exists. But it was also very apparent that the institution was divided. I'm talking about, the military institution. So is that division after the change of command, you think, does not exist, or it is being dealt with?
It exists, and there was a logical reason for it to exist. Over a period of time, the institutions and the country, they have been drifting in this direction. One could have seen there are various polarizations taking place, the judiciaries, that power play or internal power play, and sometimes also on the external front, whenever you have Chief Justices like Chaudhary or Sakib Nasir, these things have happened. And once they happen, my point is that once these things happen, you don't expect that things will run normally. Divisions would take place. So right now, whatever has happened, it has happened because of a certain process that started long, long time ago. And over a period of time, it comes to a pass. Everything comes together. All chickens, as they say, come back to roost. The economic ones, the political ones, the social ones. So all of them now are in that vortex in which the things are, as you have described, that people are also thinking about what has happened to the judiciary. My point is it has happened. And there was reason to it happen. There was a logic in what had happened. And now to wrap it up and to see if something can contain it and turn things around is not going to be for the military to do anything about it. They can sit back. If need be, an odd, role, the legitimate role of the security forces can be done, that should be done, but that's that role. But as I said, that things look so bad that people within the country have been asking, for heaven's sake, Sirajul Haq, for example, that Jamaat chair, he also wanted to do it. And now I have reasons to believe that some of the friendly countries, because it's also not in their interest. When we look at the overall scenario in which there are very big, great games going to be played, are being played actually, China and the United States rivalry, the CPEC, their investment here. And most importantly, this is a region that for many reasons, it was used to be called by Toynbee as the Eastern Crossroads of history. And one can see that this is the one, as a nodal point that makes and breaks very many different alliances. So because of that, the external element is understood, and I think I should welcome it. So should we, because on their own, they are not so likely to do that. In fact, maybe I'm reading too much into it. Once the United States sees that people in the East are now getting their acts together like China and Saudi Arabia, they also like to not be left behind. They also like to be seen as peacemakers, which they have never been. Their interest was never in peace. So they're never peace because, a country like the United States benefits from conflicts. But this time, because of the bigger rivalry, they like to do that. And as I said, I might be overreading the things. But when the other day I found that the German ambassador has gone and, asked the various political players to do something about it, he might have been acting on his own because Germany is the type of country that has credibility here. Or he might also be sent as an envoy from Washington, or not in that sense, but egged on by NATO or by someone else. Why don't you also get into play before the peace dividends or the credit for making peace is taken only by China and its allies?
Oh, okay. All right. So, the current political crisis, I happened to interview Raza Rumi on the same show, and he believed that the net loser in this entire political crisis is the establishment. How would you comment on that?
The establishment certainly has lost. I do not know next, but I think when this happened, the establishment not only got a red face, but they got heavily trolled by the others. Look, you have been trying to pull strings. It is because of your interests and because of the so-called elite capture and because of your refusal to do those things that you were expected to. You have brought us to that extent. You can't get anything right within the country. Outside the country also there are deficits, but I'm going to leave that because it is not only because of our establishment. Since you can't get anything right, because you have been ignoring certain things, you've been actually sleepwalking through certain crises. So that is why they came they came in the top. So Raza Rumi to that extent is right that it has already been there. Now, next target may well be again the civilian establishment and the bureaucracy and other institutions because of the reason that I have just said, if they don't get the sick together, but I think they'll probably be, because the pressure is too much, the compulsion is also there to do something. But in case they don't do it, I will interfere for the time being, I'm ruling it out. But there's also, there's a fact of history that when things go very bad, then no one is going to say, well, they can, as far as we're concerned, they can go down the pipe, but it's not my job. Then all of them do get into the fray, trying to contain the situation.
Right.
Not on behalf of one or the other actor, but as peace mediators. That is quite possible.
Okay. So, the political parties have always been criticized that they use the establishment's staircase to come to power. With all that has happened and whatever's happened in the last regime, and then, there were so many things attributed to General Bajwa by journalists who happened to meet General Bajwa. And of course, the revelations being done by the former Prime Minister, that's Imran Khan. And also, the current political party, especially PMLN, saying a lot that probably they wouldn't have. Would you say that it was the establishment using the political parties as a staircase to remain significant and mighty and in power?
Yeah, I suppose to some extent or to a great extent, this is the correct thesis. It's always, people want power, want more power. And once you win that power, you don't want to lose it. Managing power is very difficult. So no certain things have to be given away because they are creating imbalance. Army's particular status, Army chief's, the power that he enjoys over a period of time. He always enjoyed power, but over a period of time he was settled with more power than he could handle. Now, that certainly has happened, and people, since they tried to protect their turf, they have been, as someone has described it, digging deeper in the hole. And then it becomes more difficult to get out of that. Last year's happening in January, February, or March, or wherever it happened, it helped all of them now to, take their time out, think about it, take a back seat, try and mend fences as much as possible. In case of the establishment, at least, the civil and military, I can say, yes, they seem to have come to that conclusion that they could, even if they tried something with the best of intentions, it was not going to happen. This is also built into the process when you try to force certain things. Hybrid regime is just one thing that people talk about. It results in the hybrid regime. And the hybrid regime has a very big problem. A complete military takeover is not that big a problem. Ultimately, it may fail, but the hybrid regime is no one takes responsibility, and you can, after that, when it fails, you can put blame on each other, like we have seen in the last 1 year. And because of that, if there is, first of all, there are no such mechanisms in which the civil establishment would say, we will not do it, because it's a very diverse one. The military establishment does have some sort of a mechanism in which one can take decisions. But there again, all the realizations are, we are not going to do it. We messed up enough. If the politicians and the other civil institutions mess up anymore, then some of them will, of course, again open the champagne bottle and say, now we are back in because these people have funded. And now there will be another phase, and which ultimately also is likely to fail, backfire. But as of now, this is my assessment.
Okay, so what is your assessment regarding all the political engineering that existed in the past? Dismantling this hybrid regime was probably the most tough part for the establishment. Is that right?
No, it seemed very easy. In fact, the earlier interventions when you take over or try and influence things from behind the scene, it's a little difficult because taking over, what do you do? You can't run the country because it's so diverse a country. It cannot be run as a regiment or as an army. There are very many different players. The dynamics are different. And we in the military do not actually understand how some of the civil, the organizations or the institutions work. We do not know that. We think that if we put enough weight behind our orders, things would happen. No, they do not. The engineering is even worse. The engineering is in the sense worse because you are now trying to stay behind, asking people to do certain things, and if they don't do, what do you do? And then they take on certain unusual measures. And so those things become even more, they backfire. The normal idea was that direct interventions have not worked. How would it be that if we remain at the back and have a candidate in front, and then it might happen, we will not take the responsibility. The responsibility will be taken by Imran Khan and others, but our power continues. It doesn't happen, as we have seen. The first opportunity, and you are going to be blamed. You created it. You come and you broke it. You fix it. That type of thing. So in that case, it was easier for them to do it, but much more difficult to manage it. And now, I say, it was sometimes, it's a blessing in disguise. Since it happened and it resulted in this, one could have said that I think the realization could have dawned much earlier as to what happened. But now it's beyond any doubt that it would not work out this way. If anyone can come up with a better engineering model,
wow.
There are people who are very innovative, and in that case they'll say, yes, this type of engineering has not worked, but we will just remain and abide and play a constructive role. Oh, yes, constructive role can also be played. Like, once the president and the prime minister in 93, Ghulam Zah Khan and Nawaz Sharif, they were at odds. I think Wahid Kakar tried to play that role without taking sides. He did ask them, please, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. President, if you could do this, if we can have another round of elections, if we can have some caretakers, the rules of business, etc. It worked out reasonably well. It worked out in the sense that once the army takes the backseat, becomes neutral, even the Chief Justice at that time, Naseem Hasan Shah, had now found the courage and found the space to give a verdict that on the face of it was very judicially correct, even politically correct.
Okay. All right. Lastly, because almost the time is up, I'm taking the opportunity from your presence. There's a lot that has been said. I just want to know for my information and for others, of course, can the DGI, because you served in that position, act solely without the information or without taking the chief in loop? And I say so because there's a lot that has been said regarding the terrorist presence or the TTP's presence back into Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, that the then DGI, it was his decision. Can this happen?
I don't know about that. It can happen.
It can.
If the DG ISI, technically speaking, he is under the Prime Minister, and practically speaking, he is supposed to take certain actions. He doesn't have to every time refer it to Rawalpindi. He doesn't have to. And if he's a good one, he can find a good thing to do. So it is possible. It usually does not happen. Big decisions like this, you're talking about the army chief, I think even the Prime Minister must have been on board once he carried out whatever he did after the Americans left Afghanistan, and whatever he did. My understanding is it could not have happened without not only the army chief but the Prime Minister also, because that is the direction had to be required so that you can handle an affair which is not military. Fighting the militants is not a military affair. The so-called, they call it asymmetric war, or they call it hybrid war. This is only 20 to 25% military action. 75% is non-kinetic, administrative civilian. So if the Prime Minister was not on board on this, then of course one was again on a wrong track. But my sense was that he did not do it on his own. The Prime Minister Imran Khan was absolutely, because he had been known to be of this view that our people who have been alienated, that we should try and get them back and try and reconcile, bring them the mainstream. Essentially the idea is correct, except how to do it. That's a very complicated affair. The military provides you certain space, and after that the civil administration, the political leadership, they had to get into act to do the 75%, and they normally don't do it because it's a long process, a very complicated process, and people are in a hurry, they have to fight another election, they have to do certain other things. But the idea must be correct, but my answer to sum up, my answer is no, he didn't do it on his own, although in certain respects, DG ISI is not dependent on very many other things. After all, he's heading an agency which operates in a certain manner. And at times it can create problems, but at times it can also do some good.
Okay. Thank you so much, General Asad Durrani, for your time on 20 Minutes. That's all for now. Take care and goodbye.